Here she is in all her glory. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to have you here. This is a bit of a different video for me. I've never really talked straight to you guys before, so just bear with me. But yeah, I'm really excited. Today I'm going to start Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I'm not entirely sure how to say his last name, so we'll just go with Andy. But I've never read anything from him before. In fact, I've never actually read anything in sci-fi. I haven't done a whole lot of reading in general, to be honest. I've read a lot more fantasy and like romantasy, a lot of Harry Potter, as you can tell from the bookshelf. But I'm really excited to start this. I watched The Martian, which I didn't know was based on an Andy book before, and I really loved that movie. But yeah, I'm really excited to start this. I'm going to try and finish this before the movie comes out. So if I can read it in a week, then I will watch the movie right after it and then kind of like compare and contrast. For those of you who don't know anything about this book, it's supposed to follow the main character, Ryland Grace, who is basically going on a soul mission to save humanity because the sun is dying. And basically he wakes up in the spaceship and he doesn't remember anything. He doesn't even remember his name. I can't even imagine, waking up in a spaceship and you don't even know your name or like where you are or why you're there. So I'm excited. This seems like it's a pretty intense book. Yeah, so let's get started. So I made it to chapter 9. I won't spoil anything yet, but I will leave my more in-depth conversation towards the end of the video after I see the movie, so I can really go into detail about the differences that they made. But for now, I'll give you the general rundown. I did not read the back of this book very well, or it didn't really stick with me as much as the, first page of the book did. On the back, and this is not a spoiler, on the back it says, his crewmate's dead, his memories fuzzily returning, Ryland realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. I guess my brain just kind of like wiped that from memory because it was shocking when his crewmates were dead. I mean, that happened very towards the beginning of the book, but it was so sad. The chapter that I ended on left on a massive cliffhanger, and I'm dying to see where it goes. I did see something in the trailer for the movie that might be a little bit of a spoiler for myself when reading this, but that's okay. I've tried to avoid the trailer as much as possible because I don't want to spoil the book or anything that like happens in it. His writing style is very unique, I have to say, or at least from what I've read, and I really haven't read a lot. It's very nerdy. He uses a lot of math talk, and I was never good at math, so some of it is kind of like lost on me, and I just have to like read it and move on. It's really, really good. I feel like, honestly, that I've even learned a lot from it. Yeah, there's something he says about a microwave in there. Do I remember exactly what he said now? No. The like hexagon pattern in the microwave. He said something about it like stopping it from melting your brain, the microwaves, which is a crazy thought and maybe slightly terrifying, that all that's protecting us from our microwave is a pattern on the inside of the glass. Still cool. I've grown to really like our main character. I just think that he's very witty, and maybe that's more so the author coming out of like the way that he talks as the character. Either way, I really like it. It feels very witty, but also he's very smart and charming, and I'm nerdy in a different way, but it's very interesting to hear someone else talk that way about, science. Because I feel like a lot of it is really like heavily science related or math based. Not to scare you out of reading this book, because he really does explain it well, and he doesn't explain it too much to where you're like, okay, I don't know what's happening anymore. Yeah, definitely very science fiction-y or just science-y. But I really like that so far. So yeah, I'm excited to see where else this book goes. Okay, so it's been a couple of days. I've read about halfway through. I think Goodreads said I'm on like 55%. I'm on chapter 17. I think it's page 200 something. So it's been really, really good. I've been really enjoying it. I'm not always like a very consistent reader. Like sometimes I'll be reading a book and then it just comes to a point where I'm like, I just need a week and then I'll go back to it. But thankfully, that hasn't really happened with this book. Although now it's sort of been kind of like, okay, I'm getting a little bit, I don't want to say bored, but I've been, I guess, pretty busy lately, so I've been really tired, and it's hard to, like, engage my brain in something that is so, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, I just feel like you have to use a lot of your brain for this book. Not to say that you don't for other books, but more so for this book. The math stuff and the science stuff, sometimes it's really hard when I'm reading that to read it. Like, I'll do that thing where I read it and then it didn't really register in my brain, so I have to like reread the whole thing again. So I feel like I've been doing that a lot ever since I hit kind of the middle of the book. I don't want to spoil it. How do I say this? Well, so in the book it does this thing where it'll read in present tense for a moment of like what exactly Ryland is doing on the spaceship, and then it'll have a moment where he has a flashback and he remembers something. So you meet a lot of characters that way. You're kind of constantly meeting new characters, and I like actually the way that he lays it out is very easy to follow. And I was nervous at first when it started happening that way because I feel like, especially in movies, it's really hard to follow a timeline. But the way that he set it up actually works really, really well. And it's not really confusing at all. So we've been getting a lot more flashbacks, and they're more frequent now. And he makes it really easy to tell whether you're in the present tense or in the past tense, which I really, really like. And I feel like that's a really hard thing to pull off, but it's really easy to follow. I really like some of the characters we've met through the flashbacks. It feels very realistic. And maybe that's just because I don't know a lot about science and math and like that sort of thing, so that when he, explains it, I'm like, oh yeah, totally, instead of like, wait, that's not real. Like, it just, to me, the way that he puts it out there, it feels very real. Like, if the sun were to actually be dying, like, I don't know, some of this I feel like would really happen, or, I mean, I guess that's the thought process of, like, the book, and, like, that's the whole purpose, is what if the sun died, what would we do? What I'm trying to say is that he put a lot of thought into this whole book, but how the events would actually pan out and what could we do as a people to save humanity. I just think it's really, really thought out. I honestly have a few moments where I think about like the writing process of this, and then like the research part of that would be insane. I mean, I do research for my own writing, but not like that. I mean, that is like a whole nother level, and I really admire that. I think that it's really cool, and you can tell that he's put a lot of time into that part of it. I actually got a little bit emotional at one point too, which I did not expect, especially from this book, but there was a moment where the main character actually got like a swell of like happy emotion, and I felt for him, but I'm also worried for him that like that thing he's very excited about is not gonna happen, especially because it's like the middle of the book, and it's just, I have a lot of doubts about that part. He has heart, and I like that about a book. If that wasn't in there, I probably wouldn't be reading it. I'm gonna try to keep on reading. We'll see where we get. I read quite a bit last night. I'm pretty far. I made it to chapter 23 last night, so I kept meaning to put it down and be like, okay, at the end of this chapter, this is where I'm gonna stop, and then the cliffhanger would just be too good, and I couldn't put it down. I finished this last night. It's so good. It is so good. I mean, it hasn't been a considerably long time, but I have not stopped thinking about it. It was a really good book. The ending was super cute. The entire book led to the ending. Now, I know that sounds like every story ever, but like, I'm trying to explain this the best I can. I felt like the ending was so clearly going to happen the way that it did. Like, the author made you feel like something bad was gonna happen. Something considerably worse than what was already happening was going to happen. I thought there was going to be betrayal and death. I thought I was going to be devastated, but maybe that's just because I've only really read fantasy. But this book was really good, and the ending was so much more like full circle moment than I thought it was going to be. So I'm really excited to see the movie. We have tickets for this weekend. I'd be curious to see if the ending is the same or if they like change it. I read this very fast. I'm not a very fast reader usually, but it was like addicting. I will say there were a few moments where I was kind of pulled out of the story itself. There were definitely a few moments when it got too sciencey for me that I was like, wait, what's happening? And I kind of had to like go back and like reread it, and it still didn't make sense to me. That might be more like user error, if that's the right term. That might be more of a me thing than a book thing. Other than that, it was a really good book. It was very nerdy, and I loved the character, the main character. Yeah, I would say well plotted. Like I said, the ending, I mean, it was definitely set up to happen that way. I just, for some reason, like, didn't see it coming that way. Yeah, I don't know, I was expecting to be way more devastated. It actually had a very like satisfying ending. Well, we're gonna go see the movie this weekend, and then I will see you then. Okay, so we just saw Hail Mary last night, and wow. I mean, it's a really good movie. I would give it like a 9 out of 10. I'll give you my non-spoiler thoughts first, and then I'll warn y'all before I start talking about too many spoilers. I did end up knowing a lot about the film before going into it, like the fact that they didn't use any green or blue screens in the entire film, which is incredible, and for a space movie is sort of crazy. But yeah, my non-spoiler thoughts, they stuck really close to the book, and I really liked that. I mean, of course, there were a few things that were different. However, I feel like it worked really well for the movie and for like the characters. They gave a little bit more life to a character. I feel like she didn't have a whole lot of humanity in the book. I mean, she did, but she was very direct. Almost seemed unforgiving or emotionless maybe, but I feel like they gave her a lot more depth in the movie, and I really liked that. I also think that there couldn't have been a better cast for Ryland Grace. I mean, Ryan Gosling did amazing. I know that it's one of his highest rated films, so yeah, he is rightfully very proud of that. I also did hear that in, I believe, October or December. I don't know how I'm mixing October and December up, but one of the two. We're getting a special edition of this one, like The Martian, that's coming out in May. So I'm excited about that because it looks super cool. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. There were definitely some things that I wish they would have kept from the book in the movie, but I mean, if they did that, then it would have been a very long movie. Not that I'd be complaining. Okay, because I feel like I don't have a whole lot more to say on the non-spoiler side because there's a lot of things to spoil in this movie. So, this is your warning. If you have not read the book or watched the movie, then I would skip through this. Yeah, I would say that if you don't want any spoilers, to stop here, and I'll see you next time. If you do want the spoilers, hang around because we have a lot to talk about. When they had Strat sing that song, that was an emotional moment. I really, really enjoyed that. And I liked the way that they show her being vulnerable and then feeling the vulnerability and then being like, yeah, no, never mind, I'm shutting this down. And it gave a lot more to that character in such a small moment, which I thought was really beautiful. I also really loved in the beginning of the movie, you know, we saw the moment of Ryland Grace giving Commander Yao and the Russian woman whose name I cannot pronounce their send-off, and he had like the pictures of them. I really loved that. That got me. I was sobbing in the best way. I really liked that part of it. I liked that they did that. Another thing that I really loved is they expanded on his charming wittiness. I thought that was really good. I honestly did not expect to laugh that much in this movie, but I laughed a lot. And not just me, like a lot of people in the theater. Like that was lots of laughter, good jokes, and comedy. And I thought that I wasn't gonna like that Rocky has an actual voice in this because, it doesn't happen in the book, and I was worried that, the execution of how we, as the viewer, as the audience, understand Rocky, because he's just making noises. So I was worried that, I wasn't going to like that part of it, or that it wasn't going to be done well, I guess is more so what I mean. But I think they did really good, and they made it funny by, like, turning his computer voices into a whole thing, which I thought that was funny. The thing about Meryl Streep, I heard that Ryan Gosling didn't know that Meryl Streep's voice was actually going to come through. It was like a joke when they were filming, and then his surprise when he heard her voice was actually genuine. In the ending, and I didn't even notice this, I was kind of looking at what other people said about the movie versus the book after having watched the movie, and someone actually pointed this out, and I didn't even recognize it. Rocky in the book says something about how the Earth is brighter, and that they worked out what he gave them and they saved Earth. In the movie, that didn't happen, but we got that moment with Strat when she got his information back. Honestly, I really, really loved that. I think for me, that kind of erased the need for Rocky to say anything about Earth being saved, because, that showed that they got the information and Strat started working on it. I don't know. Okay, and maybe for someone who hasn't read the book, that might kind of be a little bit of a hindrance, but if you have read the book, I feel like it really could have gone either way. But I really liked having seen kind of where they were at on Earth. I thought that was really cool. I don't know how I feel about the beginning of the movie yet, when Ryland Grace comes out of his coma. I like the way that he's kind of oh my god, what am I doing? And he's kind of just playing on random things on his head, and he drinks the vodka then. He's kind of just goofing off. To an extent, I liked, but also it did erase a little bit of the seriousness of the situation, which I feel like Ryland really understood immediately, in the book anyway, and they kind of didn't really portray that in the movie. It was really funny though, so it was enjoyable. I really couldn't complain about anything about this movie, to be honest. I think there were two things that I felt were missing from the movie that were very prominent in the book. Ryland Grace is very smart, and not to say that the movie didn't play it off like he isn't smart, because he still saves the world, but there's a lot of math and science in the book, and a lot that he and Rocky kind of converse on. I feel like some of that was lacking or missing from the movie, which I wish there would have been a little bit more, just because that was really fun to see. Yeah, so there's that, and then in the book, Strat has a lot of power, a lot of control over what she's doing, and she unites the nations. You saw a little bit of it in the movie, but I wish there was more, because she was very, very powerful in the book. And while they gave her a little bit more of a human element that I love, they took away some of her power, I feel like, or just didn't really show it on screen, which I wish there would have been just a little bit of that. Just one moment where she totally just shows how much power she has, because there was a lot of that in the book. When Ryland Grace cried, I thought it was gonna go into that moment where Rocky's why is your face leaking? And he's oh, it's a human thing, don't worry about it. They also didn't include the quote, "I'm scary space monster and you're leaky space blob." I like that one, so I was sad, but they didn't put it in there. And when Ryland finally explains that this is a suicide mission for him, and Rocky says, "You are a good human." But the hug was cute. I liked the hug. The hug was cute, because that was not in the book, and that made me cry. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about it. Definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend this, the movie and the book, but read the book first. I think I rated the book a 4 on Goodreads. I would have done a 4.5, but they don't have half points, so. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to reading The Martian, but I'm going to wait for May when the special edition comes out, because it looks so cool. But yeah, movie and book, really, really good. I now have new stims that my boyfriend and I use all the time. He'll ask me something and then say question, and then I'll be something and then say statement. Oh, that was another thing. Ryland didn't use statement at the end of a statement in the book, but they did it in the movie. I thought that was funny, and well, Now we use it all the time, so. Well, thank you for tagging along. If you watched all the way up to this point, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was way out of my comfort zone. I'm just gonna put that out there, but we did it. So thanks for being part of it, and I'll see you next time. I don't know what that was. Okay.